Hey everybody, Rose Matter here. Welcome to a special video. So the channel recently passed 25,000 subscribers, which is very exciting, and I wanted to do something special to celebrate, so I asked my audience, what would you like to see me do for a special video? And a few of you asked me to do a visual novel tier list. So I'm going to be ranking all of the visual novels that I played, which makes sense. You know, visual novels are kind of my bread and butter. They're what I'm known for, and they are one of my favorite genres of video games. This one's a little bit different from a video I did a few years ago where I ranked all of the video games I played on the channel. This one is just dealing with visual novels, and it's also including games that I've played on my own time, not on the channel, throughout my life. So there's going to be quite a few of them. I think there's over 50 games I'm going to be ranking. So this is going to be a longer video. So I recommend grab a drink, grab a snack. I've got some water here, stay hydrated. And let's go ahead and go through all the visual novels that I've played and rank them. All right, I'm sure most of you are aware of tier lists and how they work, but I'm going to go through my rankings anyway before we start. At the very top, we've got S tier, the best of the best, the GOATs, what more needs to be said, my absolute favorite visual novels of all time. A is, of course, very, very good, not quite S tier, but games that I absolutely love and would recommend to just about anyone. And then we've got B tier, which is like, it was good, I enjoyed my time with it, I don't regret reading them, and they may have had some standout moments, but they didn't quite make the top cuts. And then C, games that forgettable, had glaring issues, or were just basically mid-tier. And then D, just games I can't recommend. I regretted my time with it, major issues. I'm gonna say right now, there aren't gonna be too many D tier games. Those are like gonna be real bad, and I can confidently say there is not too many terrible visual novels that I have played. So thankfully for that, it's going to be pretty rare. And then DNF is did not finish. So it's either games that I just didn't finish for whatever reason, or games that I am currently in the process of playing right now. So I cannot really give a final grade to it, but I can still give my opinions about them with the time that I did spend with them. All right, let's actually get into it. We've got a lot of games to get through, so let's get started. All right, first game is Paranormasight, which is a game I played on live stream a little while ago. And also another thing too is my memory of some of these games might be a little hazy because a lot of these games I played a while ago. So I'm just going based off like my initial, like, what do I remember about the game? I do remember enjoying it. I liked the fact it wasn't a super long game. The story was very interesting. I liked the kind of ghost story aspect to it, the mystery. I do love a good mystery visual novel. Those are probably my favorite ones. The art style was really cool. I liked the camera. I remember the camera being freaky at times because you could move the camera around, which is something that you don't usually get from visual novels, which led into some good jump scares. Jump scares that didn't feel too cheap, but they weren't really freaky at the same time, but it did have an unnerving, creepy atmosphere because we're dealing with kind of like ghost stories and stuff like that. And there were some interesting puzzles as well. I did like it, so I'm gonna put this at a solid B. This might be a little bit harsh, but I think we're already gonna have one of the few D tier visual novels is Psycho-Pass Mandatory Happiness, which is a game I'm sure a lot of you have never even heard of. This is basically just a shovelware visual novel that capitalized on Psycho-Pass, which I believe I bought this game pretty shortly after I finished watching Psycho-Pass, and I really loved that anime, and I kind of wanted like to get back into the world of it. And it was pretty cheap at the game store. I think it was like $20, and I can see why it was so cheap. It was just completely forgettable. It felt cheap. I will say they did get the voice actors back, which I appreciated. But you just play as these two random characters that were created for the game, and I had no interest in them. I was hoping I was going to get to play like as Akane or Kogami, or, you know, like the characters that I actually enjoy. They do show up, but it just it felt like a filler episode, basically. It just felt like a weird spin-off, and I didn't really care for the story, and also I found it very tedious to go through the other routes. It did not, I finished it out of sheer stubbornness, I guess. It was like I wanted to finish the game, get my money's worth, but it was completely forgettable, and to be fair, I did go into that blind. I could have done some research on it and realized that you don't really get to play as the characters from the anime. So that's me going in with like expectations that were not met that I put upon the game. To show you how forgettable this game was, I completely forgot about it. I only remembered it because I was going through the visual novel database, and this game was on the list, and I was like, oh wait, yeah, I played that a few years ago, and it had been completely wiped from my memory. So just for pure forgettableness, I'm putting it at D. That might be a little bit harsh. Maybe I'll move it up to C as we move things along, and I can go in and move some stuff around, but just my heart tells me just to put it at D tier, just because I regretted my time with it. It felt like just a cash grab, and I just did not care for it. All right, back to good games here. We have Sucker for Love First Date. This was another live stream game. This one was really fun. I really love the Sucker for Love series. Once again, a short game, which, don't get me wrong, I do like my very long visual novels that tell epic stories and you have to play through multiple times, but sometimes you just want something that's like 5 hours or less, just a fun little story. And I really enjoyed Sucker for Love. I love the kind of that 90s anime aesthetic, the Lovecraftian monsters that you can date. I really like the gameplay aspect where you have basically like the Necronomicon that you have to use in order to dispel the monsters before they get to you. So it's like a mini puzzle game at the same time, and you're just stuck in your apartment, and you can move from room to room, but you have to like do these little seances, and you have to do things in order according to what the book says to not die, basically. So it was just a fun mix of like a funny story with really good humor, really good voice acting too. Good voice acting. I love the aesthetic of it. The story was funny, and the gameplay was good. So I'm gonna put it at a high B. And then we've got the sequel, Sucker for Love, A Date to Die For, which I think improved on the original game. Rather than being in just an apartment, with this you have a whole big house with multiple floors you have to do. It was harder because of that, because there was more space and it was a little bit more complex. And I just loved the aesthetic even more. I loved the characters more. There was a good story to it, and once again, just the humor, the aesthetics, the voice acting, just everything on point. And it could be tricky at times, and it actually gave me a couple of jump scares. Like, this one was a little freaky. Then again, I'm a big baby, so that's not saying much, but I liked the sequel more, so of course I have to put it higher up on the list. All right, Valhalla, another, so far it's all games that I have live streamed. Sadly, it seems like the sequel to this game, which I was really looking forward to, is not going to be happening as of, as of now, which is a bummer. I really did like this game. It's got that cyberpunk pixelated atmosphere, really good music. You're just a bartender, and you have your regular customers come through, and you have to make them drinks and talk to them. And then your own character, she's dealing with her own stuff as well. So it's like there's her story, her interactions with her coworkers. It's just a really chill, really cool game. Did I like it more than Sucker for Love? I would say, ooh, okay, I'm gonna say I liked Valhalla. I'm gonna put it right in between. I did like it a lot, and I'm sad that the sequel, it's kind of in limbo right now. It's just, if you want that just really chill kind of, I don't know, vibe to it, like the music is chill, you're just mixing drinks and just chatting up customers, and there's a cool story that kind of stems from that, and you get to really like some of the regulars. You'll get to not like some of the regulars, but they're all very interesting in their own way. So yeah, just a cozy, nice little time, and I would recommend it. And also not a super long game as well. Ghost Trick. Okay, Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. I would say, like, this is one of those games where it might be, people might be like, is it really a visual novel? It's more of a puzzle game with visual novel aspects, but I don't care. I'm counting this as a visual novel. I really liked this game. I'm gonna put this on A. The characters were fantastic. The puzzles were creative. They could be a little tricky at times. There was some ones that were very frustrating to me. I think there was one in the prison level that just drove me absolutely bonkers, but for the most part it wasn't too difficult. The story just had me hooked throughout the whole thing. There were some twists and turns I wasn't expecting, and overall a great time, and I'm really glad that they did remake this game because I had this game on the DS. I think it was on the DS, and then I don't know what happened to the copy of my game, so I never ended up getting to finish it when I was younger, but I did now, and I'm very happy for that. Okay, the Somnium Files. This game is great. I really liked it. It was a weird mix between goofy, absolutely bonkers moments with a serious kind of like series of murders that you have to solve. It's a lot of these visual novels, I feel like they do kind of toe that line between humorous and intense, and it's a murder mystery, which is one of my favorite genres of visual novels, is like a murder mystery or just mystery in general. And I love the main characters, Kaname Date, his sidekick Aiba, Iris, just like, and the boss as well. Like, all of these characters were great. There were some crazy, like, twists and turns to this game, some plot twists I did not see coming. It always kept me on my toes, and there is like some puzzle solving as well that I thought was very creative, where you basically have to go into someone's cognition and you have to solve the mysteries within their brain. It was really unique, and there was just like some slapstick moments. Kaname, just a wild character. I shouldn't like him as much as I do because he's just a weird pervert, but I just found him very endearing. So I'm gonna put this at a high A. I really liked the Somnium Files. All right, next up is Master Detectives Archives Raincoat. Gosh, this is a game I'm so disappointed for it. Like, having time to think about it, especially because this was the creator of Danganronpa, which of course is like, those are some of my favorite games I played on the channel, so I was very excited that he was coming out with a new game. And I don't want to say I just wanted more Danganronpa, but this just wasn't it for me. I don't know what it was, something about it just did not stick with me. Some of the characters were fine. Like, I loved Shinigami. I love her design. She was really cute. There were some interesting cases, but I don't know, maybe it was just like the environment was very dreary with all the rain. It was kind of cool because it was kind of like that rain-soaked, almost like a cyberpunk world with like neon and dingy and dirty, and there's like secrets hidden. I feel like I should have liked that more, but it just kind of got to me after a while, and some of the twists were it didn't really hit for me, and like, I guess I enjoyed my time with it. I'm glad I played it, but it just could not compare for me to his previous games. So I'm gonna put this at a C. High C, low B. Maybe I'll move things around, but for now my heart is telling me it's a C. Okay, this one, I feel bad after just singing the praises of the Somnium Files, and then we've got the sequel, Nirvana Initiative, which is going to be our first did not finish. I did start it on the channel, but unfortunately I started this game at a kind of stressful time in my life. I was very overwhelmed with just things going on in my real life, and I try to take on too much on YouTube. I try to do too many things at once. So for like my mental health, which is a silly thing to say, but I didn't want to like make myself play a game and end up not enjoying it because of the fact that I was stretching myself too thin. I made the decision to drop this in my like Let's Play series. I wasn't too far in. I think I had done maybe 4 or 5 episodes, so I felt like maybe I'll come back to it, and I never did. I'm not gonna say that it's never gonna happen, but I'd have to like replay the whole game again because I forgot what happened. And to be honest, the time that I did spend with it, it was okay, but it just didn't compare because we had like a new protagonist and I just wasn't connecting with him. I can't even remember his name. Like, Kaname Date is just such a hard act to follow. I think her name was Tama, the girl who was kind of like the new protagonist's like little robot AI buddy. She was great. I liked her. Oh, and I forgot when I was talking about the great characters in the Somnium Files, Mizuki, I forgot about her. She's one of my favorites. I will say the fact that she does show up in this game was a breath of fresh air. I'm like, oh my gosh, good. Like a character that's returning that I like. She breathed some life into the game, but I wasn't really being taken in by the story of what I did play. So I don't want to say for sure I'm never gonna play this game again, and I don't want to like be too harsh on it because I didn't play too much of it, but I just found that the puzzles were a little bit lacking in comparison. I just didn't like the story as much as the first one. I didn't like the characters as much. So to me, what I played, it was a little bit of a disappointing sequel. So if I had to rank what little I did play, I would probably put it at like a low B. All right, next up is Corpse Party. Now, the original Corpse Party, I think you can pretty decisively say it's not really a visual novel. Some people might have opinions about that. The sequel's definitely more of a visual novel, but this is more of like a true, like an RPG Maker game. You're walking around solving puzzles. But I'm putting the other Corpse Party games on the list, so I was like, I don't want to leave the first one out. I really did like the first Corpse Party. I feel like story-wise, I think it was the best. I think the tension levels were the best. I feel like the overall story was the strongest with the first one. Maybe it is because it was the first one and it impacted me a lot. This was kind of when I was just starting to get into playing more horror games, so it really had an effect on me. But I really did like it. I'm gonna put Corpse Party, I'm gonna say, high B. I'm gonna say it's a high B. It's my favorite one, I think. I might even bump it up to a low A later. We'll see how things play out, but that's where we're gonna go for now with that. I really did like the Corpse Party, and it had some of the, in my opinion, the best like bad endings and just overall like alternative endings that still stick with me. I'm like, there were some really rough ones. They did not play with the first one. All right, and then jumping right into it, we've got Corpse Party Book of Shadows. This one is more of like your true visual novel. This one was all right. Not as memorable. There were some really dark ones. For some reason, the thing that I remember the most out of Book of Shadows, I'm pretty sure it was this one, was the freaking what was his name? Kazuya, the older one who was obsessed with Yuka and wanting to be her older brother, just eating someone's teeth. I don't know why, of all the things where you've got like dismemberments and like decapitations and guts being ripped out, for some reason him eating someone's teeth sticks with me. But I did find it was like one of the weaker stories. I don't want to say it felt like pointless, but not as pointless as another Corpse Party game we're going to talk about later, but I just feel like it didn't compare to the first one. Maybe it's the fact that in the original Corpse Party you did have to actually walk around, you did have to like solve the puzzles. It created more tension, and there was like the chase sequences and things like that. With this one, it felt more of like, oh, how gross can we get and how violent can we get? I don't know. Yeah, it didn't feel like it just doesn't feel like it can compare to the first one, in my opinion. And here we go. We're just talking about, speaking of pointless, Corpse Party, Sweet Sachiko's hysteric birthday bash. Now this just feels like pure fluff, and that's probably what the whole point was. This is like, it's not kind of in the same, it's like a spin-off basically. It's just Sachiko wanting to have a birthday party and forcing everybody to join her in on the fun. And there is definitely more levity to it, but there is still some dark moments. But yeah, it's just, I was like, why? I played it because it was Corpse Party, and I was like, I might as well, but I'm gonna put this mid-C. This felt like a waste of time. The other thing I wasn't a fan of with Sweet Sachiko was there was just, it felt like there was a lot more weird, like fan service. Like there was a little bit in the other games. This one, it's just like their excuse to be kind of goofy, so they went real ham with it, and I just didn't care for it. I am fine with some fan service, but it just felt off in this series. So I couldn't get down with it. I felt like I wasted my time playing it, and if it wasn't for the fact I was playing it for the channel, and for the most part I really try to like finish what I start, I probably would have stopped playing it after like chapter 2, to be honest. Alright, next we have Dream Daddy, a dad dating simulator, going very far away from Corpse Party. This was a very cute game. I feel like I played a lot of really cute kind of dating visual novels, some interesting ones which will come up later for sure. But this one was just cute. It's fluff, it's pure fluff. It doesn't try to be anything but fluff, but there is some very wholesome moments and, you know, some emotional moments as well. But I don't really have much more to say than that. I did enjoy my time with it. I'm glad I played it, but I would say I'm gonna put it under Paranormasight, because I just felt like Paranormasight was more of a unique experience. But this was just, it was cute. It was well done. It was well written. I liked the references that were in them. The characters were good. And yeah, the humor was very meme-ish at times, but it was like, I'm a sucker for like some meme humor and like catching little references to things. So it felt like it was kind of up my alley in that aspect. And just the art style was very cute. The one thing is like, there was no voice acting, which it is an indie game. I'm not going to say every game has to have voice acting, but compared to most of these, to be fair, there are some games here that don't, you know, like Valhalla Ghost Trick doesn't have voice acting. But when you're very character driven, voice acting, especially good voice acting, is a big plus. So if you don't have it, it's automatically going to be knocked down a little bit in comparison to some games. Okay, here's another one I completely forgot that I played until I was going through my live stream playlist, is How to Date a Magical Girl. This one was the equivalent of meh. Maybe it's because of the media that I consume now, that I kind of saw the fact that it was going to turn dark. I saw that coming. Now I feel like whenever I play something that's like a magical girl thing, I'm just waiting for that to happen. And I found the characters be pretty forgettable. The story was just very mid, no voice acting. It was pretty long. I feel like it did drag on a bit. We could have cut some time out of that. It was like, I just think like I could have probably played a better game in the time that I spent with it. But once again, my need to finish things, I was like, okay, I'm going to see this through to the end. I can't remember if like I played every route, but just the fact I don't even remember that, I barely, like, I'm looking at these characters, I don't remember anything about any of them. But yeah, and then like going to your classes and stuff like that, you could choose what to do with your time. Like you could choose to go to certain places, go to school. So like kind of Persona-ish, where it's like you could choose what to do with your time. But yeah, there was nothing really special about it. And it is another like indie game, but especially compared to some of the games here where it was like the quality is very high. This felt a little amateurish. The art wasn't fantastic, and the sprite work wasn't great from what I remember, so just a very mid game. Alright, next up we got The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, which is a game I never thought I would play. Just the title alone is just very out there. I can't believe like this game feels like a fever dream that is real. I'm not putting it on did not finish. I did finish it. We're gonna put it at... I'm gonna put it in a low B. The thing about it is, like, I don't know my Sonic lore, so the characters didn't really mean much to me. I'm sure people who are, like, into the Sonic lore, you would get a lot more out of it, but first of all, props to Sega for even making this game. Like, it's just so out there, it's just... It felt like a joke. Like, I just remember seeing this game and I'm like, is this real? And it was surprisingly well done. The art was very good. I love the idea of like a murder mystery on a train, very classic. And the humor was pretty good, and the story was decent from what I remember. The mystery was okay. But yeah, like I said, I don't know the Sonic characters. I feel like people would get more out of it if you do know the lore of Sonic, but it was a fun little game and it was short and it wasn't very expensive. So I would say like I enjoyed my time with it. It was a fun little game to play, but like nothing that you absolutely have to play. All right, now we're getting back into the good stuff. We've had a lot of mid stuff so far, but now we've got The House of Fata Morgana, which is one of my favorite visual novels. When I did my tier list for games that I played on the channel, I think I put House of Fata Morgana very high A, and that's where it's gonna stay. We're gonna say top A, not quite S tier, close, very close. What is there to say about this game? It's beautiful. The art style is so different from like your usual anime visual novels that I play. It's got a kind of almost like a gothic Victorian, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a little bit of a gothic art style. It's beautiful. The characters are so multifaceted and three-dimensional. The twists are crazy. It starts slow. The first 2 chapters were not my favorite, but man, oh man, once you kind of like put together what's going on, it's insane. Like, wow. And it made me cry a few times. It's got one of the most beautiful love stories I have ever seen in any media. I love the characters, I love the story, I love the art, the music is beautiful. This is a game where unfortunately there is no voice acting, but I barely noticed it because I was just so drawn in by just the world and the atmosphere, and it's beautiful. This is a game where I'm like, I think I could recommend this to just about anybody. And if you're getting into visual novels, it is long. It is long. Maybe it's not the best for someone who doesn't like know if they're going to like visual novels. And like I said, it does take some time for it to build up, but it grips you. Once it gets its hooks into you, it's not letting go. It's tragic. It's beautiful. What else can I say about it? It's one I very much recommend. If you guys have not played Fata Morgana, play it yourself or watch a walkthrough, whether mine or someone else's. This is just a story I think they have to experience. Alright, and a game that I finished pretty recently, Tsukihime. So this is a game by the creator of the Fate series. So this was like, I think their first story. And I hate to say it shows. I mean, they did an amazing job for like their first visual novel. So I did play the original Tsukihime. I have not played the remake. And I kind of want to, because that one has voice acting, it has like the updated graphics, and I think the story is slightly different. But I would say Tsukihime, it started really strong, and then the more I played it, I was just like, it kind of got repetitive with the routes. Each route does unlock like some really interesting information, but after a while it was just like, oh man, especially the thing that was tough for me was the first 2 routes had the best characters, and then they just got kind of pushed off to the side. Like, you've got Arcuid and you've got CL, and they're great. And then the last couple is just about your sister and the maids, which they're fine, but like the best characters just got kind of fridged, especially Arcuid. Like, she even comments like throughout the game that she's the main character for all intents and purposes, and she's been completely forgotten about. I feel like if she was in the game more, I would enjoy it more. But I did like the kind of crudeness of the game, not like the story content, although there's some weird stuff with your sister, not sister. It's more like the art. It's a very early 2000s, because it literally is. And I find it very charming in a way. So I did like the art, but I am curious to see like the upgraded version. So you guys can let me know, is like the new version of Tsukihime, is it worth playing? I know that like they've just basically done the first part of it, so it's going to take some time to get the whole story. But I did enjoy my time with it, but in comparison to Fate, I don't think it can really compare, and it feels kind of unfair to. There might be people out there, you might prefer Tsukihime over Fate, but I'm the opposite. But I still enjoyed my time with it, and I feel like it had a strong end, strong beginning, and the middle was kind of middling a bit. So I'm gonna put Tsukihime, I'm gonna put that at like a high B. There we go. Right, next is The House in Fata Morgana, A Requiem for Innocence, which is sort of a spin-off slash prequel to the original game. This gets into the story of Yakubo and Morgana, kind of their relationship before all of the events of House of Fata Morgana. I'm not going to go too much into it because I don't want to spoil things. Now, this is a game, this is a game you want to play after you play the original, or else you're gonna have no idea what's going on. So it's like a little dessert. It's just a little kind of side dish to the original game. It definitely expands the story and explains things and gives more nuance to it, but I wouldn't say it's necessary, and it can't compare to the original. It can't. So I can't put it above it. I still liked it. I did like that they fleshed out Yakubo and Morgana's characters. Yakubo is, him especially, he's a character that I have mixed feelings on, but this did make me feel for him a little bit more and understand him a little bit more. Does it redeem him? That's debatable. And then Morgana just shows just truly how tragic of a character she is. I mean, we already knew that, but it really delves into her story that much more. So for that reason, I think I'm gonna put it at a high B. God, I'm putting a lot of stuff in B. All right, now we have the coffin of Andy and Leyley. So I guess you could say this is technically a did not finish, just because it's not done yet. It's in process. So I'm gonna put it a did not finish. I have finished up to what has been out so far. But if I had to like put it in a rank for where we are now for like of the story, I would probably put it's gonna be in B. Where in B though is the question. This game is effed up. It is not for people who are easily offended, that is for sure. Andy and Leyley are terrible people. I don't think you were meant to sympathize with them. And they do some real messed up stuff, but just the writing is so funny and so dark, and the characters, as horrible as they are, they're fascinating, and you're so curious about like, what are they going to do next? What are they going to say next? And the puzzles are like decently enjoyable, but like for the most part, I'm playing these games for the story, not for the puzzles. The puzzles are like an afterthought to me. So I care about the story, and the story is quite fascinating. It really does show just these messed up characters and how their parents kind of fucked them up, and how they're basically grew into monsters, and you're just following these very unlikable characters, but you're so interested to see, like, they keep getting themselves into these terrible situations, and you're like, how are they going to get out of this one? So I would probably put Coffin of Andy and Leyley, I'd probably put it in between Sucker for Love and Tsukihime. So that's where I would rank it. It's pretty good, and I'm like very fascinated to see how much darker the game is going to get and like where it's going to go from here. All right, now we're going to just like rapid fire the class of 09 games. So we've got the OG one, kind of similar to Coffin of Andy and Leyley, just offensive, even more like this game is going out of its way to offend people and just be as messed up as possible. The things the characters in this game do, the things they say, the options that you have are just wild. But I find it so funny. Like, it just goes so into offensive territory, you have to laugh. This is definitely another game where it is not for people who are easily offended. So let's just really quickly, because I do find the class of 09 games, like, you know, all pretty comparable. So let's put... I'm gonna put it above Book of Shadows, and then we're just gonna quickly pick the other games. Then you've got the re-up. I think I'm gonna put the original class of 09 above it because it was my first time playing it, and so it hit me the hardest in terms of like, whoa, I didn't know what I was expecting, but certainly not this. And then there's class of 09 Flipside, which is Jekka, which so you've got oh my god, what is her name? What is the main character's name? Nicole. You got Nicole and then Jekka. So Nicole's, I would say she's the worst of the two. So class of 09 and re-up, those are following more Nicole. And then you got Jekka, which is kind of like her sidekick, who she seems to be a little bit less fucked up. She has a little bit more of a moral compass. But she's not a great person either, so the flip side is Jekka's kind of story, and I found it the weakest, so I'm going to put it at the bottom of the three here. So I'm sorry for having that be really quick, but I do just find like the class of 09 games, they just kind of all blend together, to be honest. I only remember the flip side more because it follows a different character, but overall, these games are really fun. They're relatively short. The voice acting is surprisingly good. For an indie game, and it's just a fun time if you are not easily offended. Here's a game I haven't played in a while. Long Live the Queen. This is another one where people might be like, hey, is this really a visual novel? This is kind of more of a management game. So this game, you are playing a girl who will become the queen, and you have to manage her day-to-day activities. You have to like have her go to certain classes to learn different abilities, things like, you know, if you want your character to be more of like an intelligent leader, so you teach them things about like geopolitics and military strategies and like naval knowledge and things like that. Or if you want your character to be more of a socialite, you can have her learn things like dancing and speech, and have her be more like maybe diplomatic or a socialite who can charm people. And throughout your day-to-day life, random events will happen where people are trying to kill you because you are going to be the queen, and depending on what skills you do or don't have, your character can meet a grisly end. This game's tough. This is it's very cutesy looking, but it is surprisingly complex. I've only managed to finish it one time and get through, because you have to I think you have to survive 40 days to get to your coronation. I've only survived it one time, but I find this game really fun, actually. I really do like the kind of the management of your character, and you can build her the way you want. You can dress her up in different clothing, and just the random events that can happen are very funny. So I did like Long Live the Queen. I kind of want to play it again, to be honest. Maybe I'll do a live stream of it in the future. So I'm going to put Long Live the Queen. Let's put it in between Valhalla and Sucker for Love. Yes, one of the weirder games I have ever played is Hatoful Boyfriend, the bird dating game that is more than meets the eye. I thought it too. I was like, people want me to play this because it's the bird dating game. But then it goes off the rails into something completely different if you stick through with it. It's like, yes, the first, like, 75% of the game you are dating birds, but I think when you clear like all of the other routes, it unlocks something that is a lot darker and a lot more serious than you think a game like this would be, and that caught me off guard and it had me hooked. So I really liked this game. I'm not gonna say it's A tier. Where are we gonna? I am just everything's going in B tier. But let's see. Hatoful boyfriend. Hatoful boyfriend. Let's put you. We're gonna put you in between Valhalla and Class of 09. And then really quick, we've got the sequel, Holiday Star, which was just kind of like a little holiday sequel, which I don't really remember anything about, because it's so forgettable and I don't have much to say about it. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna stick it at the bottom of B tier. Okay, here is a blast from the past. I think this is the first visual novel I ever played, Katawa Shoujo. I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, when did this game come out? I'm gonna look this up really quick. All right, so I was mistaken. For some reason, I thought this game came out in like the late 2000s. It says that it came out in 2012, so I guess it wasn't the first visual novel I played, but it feels like I played this back in high school. That's so crazy to me. Why did I think it came out when I was like, I thought this came out in like 2008 or something, but okay, never mind. Yeah, in this game, when you hear the history of it, it's a game that was originally, I believe, they came up with the idea on 4chan and then they turned it into a game, and it is a game where you go to a school for people with disabilities. And you think like, oh, a visual novel created on 4chan about girls with disabilities. You think it's going to be like really offensive and crude. It's beautiful. It's like actually really well written and wholesome and emotional. And I feel like it's better than it has any right to be. Now, I played it a long time ago, but I still remember it quite well. My favorite girl was Leyley. I really liked her. And there was some really dark moments too. But yeah, like they actually treated this game with a lot of respect to the characters. And I gotta put it on A for the nostalgia alone, and also because it, like I said, I feel like it's better than it has any right to be, and it was a free game. And yeah, it's just really good. I still can't get over the fact that this game came out in 2012. It feels like it came out a lot longer ago, but there we go. We finally have another game up on the A tier. All right, finally, we are getting into the S tiers. We've got You and Me and Her, boom. Don't even have to think about it. We've got our first S tier of the tier list. Yeah, I could go on about this game. I already have in my previous tier list video, but this is one of the most affecting visual novels I've ever played. This game gave me some real tough choices to make. The fourth wall breaking on this is incredible. So this is the game that kind of like inspired Doki Doki Literature Club, where you've got the fourth wall breaking, you've got like the yandere girlfriend who doesn't appreciate the fact that you are ignoring her, and she will break the system to make sure that you can't leave her. And even like the yandere girlfriend, you get to kind of sympathize with her, and I did. I'm not going to spoil things too much, but I did make a very surprising choice at the end people were not expecting me to make, because the game was so effective at having me sympathize with these girls. And there were some like real horror moments too. Not necessarily jump scares, but just kind of getting under your skin, playing around with your feelings and your emotions, playing around with the game itself to make you feel really uneasy. And the progression from just a cute romance to horror was so well done. It's just an amazing game, and I highly recommend, if you could handle like psychological horror, please give this one a try or watch a playthrough of it, because it's fantastic. All right, boom, boom, boom. Don't know if I did this on purpose. We've got another S tier. Song of Saya, Saya no Uta. This one is not a game I would recommend for everybody. This is a fucked up game, but oddly beautiful, about a man who suffers a horrific accident that causes him to see everything and everyone as gore and viscera disgusting monsters. The world is created out of blood and guts, and the only thing beautiful in his world is a young looking girl that he takes into his home, and they start a really messed up relationship, and it makes you feel icky. But it's fascinating at the same time. You're playing a protagonist who is not a good person, who does awful things, but you do sympathize with him in a way. And yeah, there's some real gross moments that it was tough for me to play at times, but I had to keep going because the story just gripped me in a way that few visual novels have. This is probably one of the better stories in terms of like, it just felt like there was no real moments where I felt bored of the story. It didn't feel like it went on too long. The pace felt perfect. And yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good. Really screwed up though, but in terms of like the more dark, gross out visual novels that I've played, I think this is the best one. So if you've got the stomach for it, give it a try. It's fantastic. All right, and you know, mentioning about how you and me and her kind of inspired Doki Doki Literature Club, this is going to be the third did not finish. I played this back in the day, 2018 maybe, kind of like the beginning of my channel, when I was not really into the horror games, and embarrassingly enough, I could not finish Doki Doki Literature Club because it was too scary for me. Maybe things have changed now, maybe I could get through it now that I have played more horror games, but something about it just, it really unnerved me. I think it was, this one had more jump scares than you and me and her, and I don't like jump scares in games. I like more slow burn psychological horror, and this had that, but it did have a couple of jump scares. What I did play of it was quite good until it got scary, and then I literally had to stop playing it because I couldn't get myself to play it. So the game was like too effective. But that's also because I was a big baby. I still am, but a little bit less so. And I'm thinking if I could finish You and Me and Her, I think I could finish Doki Doki. So maybe that's a game I'd have to come back to because I do hate to leave games unfinished. So maybe I will have to finish that at some point. But today is not that day. But now that I've played You and Me and Her, I almost feel like, do I really need to play Doki Doki? Because it feels like it can't compare to this game. I feel like this is the better version, so why bother playing the inferior version? You guys might have your thoughts, you can let me know what you think, but yeah, Doki Doki is my kind of badge of shame of games that I couldn't finish. Alright, this is another game that I have played on my own time, and the first live-action visual novel that I played, I think it's the only live-action visual novel I've played, is 428 Shibuya Scramble. From what I remember, I really liked it. It had a really crazy story that just got even more bonkers as it went on. There was some annoying aspects, like there were times where I would get kind of stuck in the same loop and I couldn't figure out how to progress, because the thing with Shibuya Scramble is you've got a bunch of characters that you can jump back and forth to the like different characters and what they're doing, and from what I remember, you can change, like each chapter you can choose to switch to characters on the fly, but you have to do things in a very specific way or it doesn't work. And that's where it got a little annoying, is there were times where I would just be stuck at certain parts and I would just be switching back and forth between the characters because there was like a timeline of when things have to happen. So you can jump around to character stories, but you have to do it in a certain way or it doesn't work. And it was that rigidness that was a little frustrating. So as much as I remember enjoying it, because of that annoyance of the rigidness of it and like getting stuck where I had to like refer to a manual to a walkthrough, and I hate having to do that, I'm gonna put it at like a pretty high B. Let's put it, yeah, we'll put it up there. That feels right. All right, this is the fun one. These are the fun ones, the ones you guys have been waiting for, the Danganronpa games. Yeah, these are all gonna be, I think they're all gonna be A. It's just a matter of like, well, actually that's not true. most of them will be A's. So let's just zip through them real quick. Trigger Happy Havoc, the first one, fantastic, loved it, great introduction to the series that I hold near and dear to my heart. We're gonna put, yeah, well, we're gonna put it in between the Somnium Files and Ghost Trick. I'm not gonna say this is the weakest one. It's not, in my opinion. But maybe with like the fact that it kept escalating the story, that the first one almost feels kind of charming in a way, like, oh, this is where everything started, and then they just kept building on the story, and like maybe the other ones are more memorable because of recency bias, and also because it felt like they had to keep raising the stakes. But the first one's still very, very good, and I love a lot of the characters in, maybe not love. There's very few that I don't like from the first game. Maybe a lot of the characters to me are like good to greats. There's very few that I'm just like, ugh, I don't care for them at all. So pretty solid cast. Great introduction to the world. Because it was my first one, it was very shocking to me, the things that happened. But yeah, like there's just other ones that I liked more, and actually we're gonna get into those right now. All right, Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair. When I said that not all of them were gonna be on A tier, that's because Danganronpa 2 is gonna be S tier. It is my favorite one, my favorite cast of characters overall, my favorite setting, some of my favorites, cases. Just overall, fantastic. One of the few issues I have with it is the third case in this one is my least favorite one, I think, of all the Danganronpas. So that brings it down a touch, but overall, I have mostly nothing but good things to say about this one, and this is one of the games where I'm like, if I could erase my memory and play through it again for the first time, this would be one of them. And then finally we've got V3, which I think is probably the most controversial of the games. I still don't know how to feel about that ending. I kind of waffle on it. I've like read and watched video essays about people debating about whether the ending is good or not, and my heart still says I'm not a big fan of how it ended, but everything up until the end was really good for the most part, so I'm gonna put it above the first one. Yeah, that feels right. I wasn't sure. I was like, ooh, I don't know. But yeah, I really did like the third one. The ending kind of like ruined some of the good feelings I had about it overall, but it still had a strong cast of characters. Some of my favorite characters in the series. The last couple of trials are fantastic, especially the, I think it's the fifth one with, I don't want to spoil anything, but with a certain couple of characters where it's a thing of like, you don't know who's dead. That was such a cool twist on that. That was a really, really good trial. I feel like that one's kind of overlooked a little bit. People talk about the class trial, like the ending of the second one, which is still my favorite, but that one is really good too, in V3. Like the fifth class trial in V3 is very good. And this one also has the best first class trial of all of them. The most memorable for sure, even though it breaks my heart. So yeah, we're gonna put that one at a pretty high A. And another thing is, I'm not including the fan games. I was debating about that, about like Danganronpa Another. Maybe I should have added those if I were to put it. I'm playing Another 2 right now. I'm really enjoying it. If I had to rank Another, the first one, I would put that at probably a high C because of the fact that there was the issues with the free time events and the translation. That just screwed the game up and removed like a big aspect of it. Was the free time events were not translated, and some of the games, the mini games during the class trials, were screwed up because it wasn't translated properly. So that really hindered my enjoyment of the game. So I would put Another at like a high C. I'm enjoying Another too. It's really good. It still has its issues with like some of the translating and the spelling errors and things like that, but it's a lot better. So I would be putting that one at like a high B of what I've played so far. All right, the next game up is Fate Stay Night. This is a biggie. This is a big one. I don't know though if I want to do A or S. S feels a little high. This might be controversial. I'm gonna put it high A though. Is it better than Fata Morgana? I think Fata Morgana affected me more emotionally. So I'm gonna put it right there. I don't have too many complaints about Fate. It was a great story overall. I enjoyed all of the roots. They all had like their definitely hype moments. And it just built on the world of Fate that I enjoyed from the anime, and it just like expanded on that and made me appreciate the characters more. And yeah, I don't really have any complaints about it, but at the same time, I don't know if I can put it on S. I have to be very selective. Like S is like the best of the best. So as good as Fate was, I think A, I think I feel good with that spot. Oh, but you know what there's no hesitation. Higurashi When They Cry is going up on S at the very, very top. There is no question. I think people who watch my videos, who know my lore, who have seen the previous tier list, or who just like have watched my Higurashi playthrough, it's the best. It's the best. I am waiting for the day when there is going to be a visual novel to top it. It has not happened. I read this quite a while ago, and it is still my favorite. I could go on forever about how much I love this game, the story, the characters. It's just all peak. I have no complaints about it as far like it gets a little slow at times, but it's that slowness that builds up the tension. And yes, the opening is a little slow because it starts off very like wholesome. It's just about you know, a boy who moves to a small town, and he is friends with a group. They have their little you know, game club, and everything seems great, but then things just go off the rails slowly but surely, and when it does, it doesn't stop. I didn't know what to expect going into this because it was recommended to me, and when I first started playing it, I was like, oh, it's just like a wholesome, like, slice of life visual novel. And then little seeds of doubt were planted throughout, both with me and with the character Keiichi, the main character. And like I said, once it just starts to go a little crazy, you're on that ride and you're not getting off because you need to know what happens next. I don't think I've ever been so tense playing a visual novel as I was with Higurashi, and just I could never know what to expect next. And the story like just came together in such a beautiful way at the end. It ended so well. I love the characters. They're my babies. I want to protect them. And I'm just gonna gush. The video is gonna be long enough. I have to stop myself. But you guys know how much I love this game. It's my favorite, and I think it always will be my favorite visual novel. And it's one of my favorite stories in like just media, like movies, TV shows, books, video games. It's peak, it's the GOAT, and I don't see that being untrue anytime soon. It's gonna take something really special to knock Higurashi off of like the top of my S tier, so it's just gonna stay there, I think, for the rest of my life. But a very close second, Umineko, which is going to be just one below Higurashi. You guys can let me know in the comments, are you team Umineko or are you team Higurashi, for like which one is your favorite? Umineko was so good as well, but I don't know why. I don't know if it was just the small town setting. I don't know if it was the characters, it was like more of a close-knit group of friends that it just made it easier for me to bond with them rather than like Umineko where there's like 20 characters that you have to keep track of and like all of the things that are going on. I don't know if it was the kind of like the supernatural, almost like not sci-fi, but like superhero almost moments of like a shonen. That's the way I would describe it. Like the moments of Umineko with the magic and like these shonen moments about characters just pulling out weapons and going into battle that just threw me off. It was cool. It was hype as hell. But Higurashi, I think, kept more of this creepy, you know, mystery, ghost, supernatural. Is it really happening? Is it just in Keiichi's head, the characters' heads, that keeps you guessing? Umineko was like this really cool, it started off as like a murder mystery in a mansion on an island where it's like everybody's trapped. That was very appealing to me, and then it just went off the rails. It felt like so much more suddenly. I felt like Higurashi, there was more of that slow burn that made you second guess everything. Umineko just felt more like tonal whiplash, that just had me all sorts of like, what is happening? Which, don't get me wrong, is very enjoyable. And I would say that, like, whereas Higurashi is my favorite story, Umineko has my favorite protagonist. Battler Ushiramiya is the best visual novel protagonist, in my opinion, bar none. I love him and Beatrice. I love their relationship, their back and forth, the red truths, the battle of wits. I love that stuff. And it turns into a very emotional story about family trauma, about repeating cycles, about love, and it's beautiful. And I think I like the ending of Umineko more than Higurashi. But they're both amazing. They're both amazing games. I just like Higurashi a little bit more, but you can't go wrong. I'm sure if you are watching this, you have probably read both of these, but if you haven't, what are you doing? Please watch a playthrough of this or read it yourself immediately. These are games that have to be experienced. I think if I have to like recommend any visual novels, those two, Higurashi and Umineko. Like, I feel like if you read visual novels and you enjoy them, they're must reads. Like, you have to. So you can't go wrong with either of them, but Umineko just falls a little bit short for me over Higurashi. All right, it feels like I should have left those two for the end because those are the two most hype and the ones that I have the biggest feelings about. But we still have quite a few more to go, so let's just continue on. Next is 999, 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors, which is a part of the Nonary Games trilogy. So this is a game I played on my own time a long time ago. I played this, gosh, this came out on the DS, so that tells you how long ago it was. So I don't remember much about it, but I thought it was a really cool game. It was a game unlike I'd ever played before, back when I did play it. It's definitely a puzzle game primarily, where it's a bunch of people that are stuck on a ship, and they have to get out, and they have to like solve puzzles, and people can die, so it's a very high stakes situation. What I do remember is some of the puzzles were really clever. Some of them made me feel like an idiot, and then they had some really messed up alternative endings. And the characters were pretty likable for the most part, and some were pretty hateable. And there was a twist at the end that I still remember. Like, I don't remember much about this game, but I do remember the ending. It was incredible, and there was a puzzle that was related to the ending that was so, like 4D chess, amazing, like, blew my mind. So, from what I remember about this game, I think I'm gonna put it on low A. Alright, and then we've got the sequel, Virtue's Last Reward. This one, I remember, which is funny, I played 999 before Virtue's Last Reward, and yet I remember more about it. I don't remember much about this game, so it's pretty forgettable for me. I do remember that, like, I wasn't a big fan of the fact that they went from, like sprites, like hand-drawn sprites in 999 to 3D animated sprites, and I didn't really care for it. So I remember not a whole heck of a lot about Virtue's Last Reward, which feels bad to say. So I think I'm just gonna slap it maybe kind of right in the middle of B for that reason. And I never did play what's called Zero Time Dilemma. I have it, I just never played it, so I can't give you guys my opinions about that one. Okay, Slay the Princess is next. This is a game I really should get back to playing because I did play a decent chunk of it when I was live streaming, but there are so many endings I didn't get, and then the pristine version is out, which is like even more complete. But I thought this was such a cool game. I feel like low A. It was just really unique. I love the hand-drawn style. The narrator was amazing. The different ways that the endings could go were just so insane. And yeah, like the voice acting, the art style, the writing was all so good. So I think I'm gonna have to play some more of this game from what I remember. It was just really cool. It was like one of those fourth wall breaking like visual novels where the narrator feels like they're speaking to you, the princess is speaking to you, and you can choose whether to kill her or spare her, and then things can just go off the rails from there. And it's just a wild game, and it's like really reasonably priced too for the amount of game that you get. And I think like with the pristine one, if I have the original game, it's basically free, so I'm like, there's no excuse for me to like not play more of it. So maybe that's another game I should live stream later, but I just remember thinking this was one of the cooler visual novels just for like the gameplay aspect, the writing, like you have in your head, you've got different versions of yourself or like different versions of the narrator depending on which way you're choosing to play your character. It's just all really neat, and this is another, I feel like, really accessible, really cool game that's just about anyone should give a try. All right, next up, one of the OGs of visual novels, one of the top ones, Steins Gate. This has got to be A. This has got to be A. It's like such a classic. It's so good. The story is amazing. The characters are fantastic. I'm a sucker for a game with time loops. I seem to play a lot of those, and this is one of the ones that does it the best. We're going to put it above, yeah, above Danganronpa V3. We're going to put it above the Somnium Files. It's just like, it's going to be right up there, one of the top 3. It's just really good. It's a classic. It's another one where it's like, if you play visual novels, chances are you have played Steins Gate, and if not, it's one that you should. I think this is one of those ones that like people say, if you're going to recommend a visual novel, Steins Gate is a really good one because I do find it's pretty accessible. It's a cool story, and it's got a satisfying ending. It's got some real dark moments too. I love the fact that it explores the idea of time looping and what it could do to someone's brain and like just psychologically how it affects them. And it's not just simply like going back in time. It's that whole butterfly effect, like you're altering time, so of course things are going to go badly, and it explores that in some really messed up ways. And what else can I say about Steins Gate? It's fantastic, and you should play it if you haven't already. Now, on that note, Steins Gate 0, this is one that I'm like, I think this one is, you could skip this one. It's okay. I do like the fact it deals with basically Okabe's trauma after the events of the original Steins Gate, and like what time leaping does to somebody. He's like a broken person dealing with the consequences of his actions. I think that's pretty cool. I wouldn't put it at A. I would say maybe it's like, I'm gonna put it at like a high-ish B. I'm gonna put it in between Tsukihime and Sucker for Love. I don't remember as much, like I played Steins Gate years ago, and I feel like I remember more of the story of Steins Gate over Steins Gate 0, so that tells you something. I just feel like the characters are more memorable, the story's more memorable in Steins Gate. This just feels like, it's not fluff. It's not like an unnecessary thing. It does kind of deal with like the aftermath of everything. So if you did like Steins Gate 0, you could play it and I think you'd enjoy it, but I don't think it's like a necessity for you to play compared to like some of these ones. All right, next up is Chaos Head Noah, which I finished, you know, somewhat recently. This is an interesting one. I think this is one of the better visual novels with a very unlikable protagonist. I've heard people say that like they couldn't enjoy Chaos Head because of Takumi, the protagonist. He's just your typical like nerd who is also like a shut-in, and he has like visions of grandeur. He thinks he's better than other people. He has really twisted thoughts. He just sees people almost as like NPCs. He's like a 4chaner basically, or like a really toxic Redditor. Like that's the best way I can describe him. But it's a really interesting idea of a character who feels like he's losing his mind, and because he's isolated himself, he has nobody that he can really turn to, and he just devolves into madness. And then it turns out that he's kind of right about the ideas that he has. So it's like the idea of someone who, it's almost like they have these delusions, but they're actually correct about them, and people don't realize it. And it just, this game goes off the rails, crazy twists and turns, a very fascinating game. And he does grow as a character. He does become more of a likable character. I think the game, in a way, it works and it doesn't, because he is an isolated character. He barely interacts with other people. To be in his head all the time is effective to show how much he's losing his mind, but also I feel like it suffers a little bit because of that. Like, I would like to have him interact with more people, just because like being with Takumi for that long of time, being in his head, can be a little exhausting after a while. And then the ending, it was kind of cool, kind of hype, but also a little confusing, and I don't know how I feel about the ending. But overall, it was a pretty cool psychological horror, and it did get really creepy at times. So I'm gonna put it. Yeah, I'll put it right there. Right, and now we're moving on to Chaos Child, which is a did not finish, only because I am in the process of playing it right now. I'm gonna put it at the top of did not finish, because actually I should probably, there we go. In terms of like my enjoyability of these, Chaos Child I am really liking right now. I think I'm liking Chaos Child more than Chaos Head, unless it completely just goes off the rails and goes to shit later on. I do like the fact that our character in this one, he still has kind of the hints of a little bit of like, he thinks he's better than people, and he's a little bit of an outcast, but he does have friends, he does have people he interacts with, and I find that's more enjoyable. I think I've learned that I do like visual novels where the characters are not so in their own head and they're not so isolated, because being with one person for a long period of time can be a little exhausting. So I appreciate that Takeru, he is, unlike Takumi, he can socialize, he can have relationships, he's not super awkward, and he's just a more enjoyable character to be around. And I'm really liking like the mystery of this so far. I like it. I like this. I hope that it continues on the pace that it's at, or it gets even better. I think if I had to, like, where it's going right now, I think I probably would put Chaos Child at like a low A right now. I am really enjoying it. Alright, so next up we've got Date Everything, which is, I guess technically you could say it's a did not finish, because there's a lot of content to this game, and I just scratched the surface of it. I'm doing live streams of this still, and I'm really enjoying it. This is one of the more, this is my comfort game right now. This is just like, I jump in this game and everything is okay. It's just really fun. It's lighthearted. It's a game where you can date basically everything in your house. It's a wild concept, but it's just crazy how they got all of these amazing voice actors. The writing is so good, the art is really bright and fun, and the designs of these, like, some of the best designed characters I have seen in a game in a long time. It's just so good. It's so enjoyable. I'm having a lot of fun with it. If I had to rank what I've played with it so far, I know it's just a little fluff, like, dating game, but I would put it at like a low A. I'm really enjoying it, and I just think it's really cute, and it's just a lot of fun. All right, now we move on to a game I have a lot of feelings about, Raging Loop. This one, to me, this one is a bummer, because this game could have been so good. It was so good. If it followed through on the ending, if it kept the momentum it had in like the first half, this to me would be high A, low S. I'm not even joking. I was captivated by this game at the beginning. It's a story about like a college student who happens to come across a small Japanese rural town where they have a feast where they have to kill other members of the village in order to stop a curse from happening in their town. I think that's the story. So it's kind of like that game, is it Werewolf? Where it's just like you have a role to play and you have to try and get away with murder, and then other people have to figure out like who the wolf is. And if you successfully like execute the wolf, then you basically win the game or something like that. So it's really good, and it's clever, like the way that they do it, and it just kept me on the edge of my seat, wanting to know how the feast was going to go, who was going to die, who was going to be the killer, and we have to try and figure out who it is. So you have to like make the right choices or else you lose. And it was so good, and then the ending, it just crashed and burned. To me, this is my Game of Thrones of visual novels, where it started so high and ended so low. I know people talk about the ending of V3 being disappointing and like invalidating the rest of the game. That's what this game is to me. So it's tough for me. It's tough for me to play. I think this is the one that's going to be the hardest for me to rank, because it was so good until it wasn't. Like, I want to put it at C, but like it really was good, and it had a really cool concept. And for that, I think I'm going to have to put it... All right, I'm going to put it like kind of lowish. No, I don't know. I'm going to put it lowish B. We're going to put it in between Virtue's Last Reward and Paranormasight. But like I said, this game, it could have been so much better, and it breaks my heart that it wasn't. All right, so next up is another game that I live streamed a while ago. Kind of funny. I streamed a game about being a streamer. Needy streamer overload, where you're playing as a girl who is streaming, but she clearly is not mentally well, and you can choose how you want your streams to go. You can choose to kind of feed into what your audience wants, but it's going to affect your character's mental state in order to like make more money, be more popular. Or you can choose to kind of like pull back and do things you want to do but might not be as popular. And you know, as someone who is a YouTuber, I'm like, oh, this is feeling very, it's hitting close to home. And you feel like you can be such a bad person to essentially just drive this streamer, who's not a great person, by the way. She's not a good person. She's kind of a jerk. But she's also like not mentally well, so you can kind of sympathize with her. But some of the endings you can get on this, holy cow, some of the things that can happen are crazy, and I really like the concept. The art style was really cute, and I found the gameplay to be really interesting and sort of unique. So I'm going to put Needy Streamer Overload. We're gonna put it kind of like right in the middle of B. Alright, next up is Higurashi Rei, which is a spin-off of Higurashi. Now this one's meh for me. Like, you've got the highs of the original Higurashi, and then you've got this one, which is kind of a collection of stories, and they were pretty disappointing. There were some that were better than others. There was one that was just pure fan service. There was one that was actually kind of interesting, following Rika. and an alternate idea of like her looping back and experiencing, like, basically if everything went different for Rika and the other characters. That was actually pretty interesting, but overall, the overall package was very mid to me from what I remember. So I'm gonna put Higurashi When They Cry Rei. I'm just gonna put it like, it's not quite C level, but it's kind of low B. God, the B level is very cluttered. All right, guys, we are heading to the end, and now we're gonna rapid fire the Ace Attorney series, which is one of my favorite game series of all time. So most of these are going to be pretty high. So first we're going to start off with the OG Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright. I think this one might be my first visual novel, if you count the Ace Attorney series as a visual novel. Played this like all the way back in, I think, like 2010, 2011. So this is a series that's near and dear to my heart. I love them. The first game, I would say, is one of the weaker ones, just because it's the first one, so they were still figuring things out, but still a great introduction. And I feel like I can't put it in anything other than A, but it's going to be, I'm going to put it like right here. So just right above Slay the Princess. This is a very nostalgic game to me. I do still occasionally play the games. Like, I've played all of them with the exception of one. Multiple times, so I'm very familiar with them, and it's like my comfort series. I love the Ace Attorney series. So there we go, Ace Attorney. The first one is going to be low A. All right, next up we've got Justice for All, which is very good. Not my favorite one, but I think we're going to put Justice for All. We'll put it in between Ghost Trick and Katawa Shoujo. I really like Justice for All. Overall, it's a good game, no complaints there, but like, it does improve on the first one, but it's not my favorite one. Now this one is Trials and Tribulations. I think this is my favorite one. It's got the best like overall cases, in my opinion. I love the fact that Trials and Tribulations, it follows, like, the first and the last one connect in such a crazy way. The ones in between are okay. I do find that the third one on this is kind of like one of the weaker ones. It's funny that the Ace Attorney series is kind of similar to Danganronpa, that their third cases always tend to be the weakest, but the last case on this one alone, it's my favorite one. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it in between Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc, and V3. Oh, no, you know what? No, it's gotta go higher. It's gonna go higher, actually. I'm gonna put it, there we go. We're gonna put it right between Steins Gate and the Somnium Vials. Okay, next we've got Dual Destinies, which I would say is my second favorite one. I really did like Dual Destinies, so, you know, because of the fact that it's my second favorite one, we're gonna stick it right under Trials and Tribulations. Dual Destiny, for the introduction of Athena Sykes alone, is fantastic. She's great. I love her so much. And I really like what they did with the 3DS. They had some like cool aspects of that. Overall, a pretty epic sets of cases. The last case on this one is really good. It's really good as well. And I do like the introduction of Athena, and she's got like her emotion-based gameplay, which is something a little bit different. So that one is really, really good. And then, in my opinion, Spirit of Justice, I think, is the weakest one, and it's going to be the only Ace Attorney game that is not going to be A tier. So I'm going to put it like high B. I just wasn't crazy about the characters, the cases, like the world that they were in. They were in like a completely different country, which had this weird kind of thing with a princess that can like see visions of what the victim saw before they died, which was kind of a cool thing. And then you had to like go into what she saw, and you had to point out inconsistencies. But yeah, I just found the characters were a little bit lacking in comparison, because with Ace Attorney, the characters are what make the game what they are, and I feel like it kind of lives and dies by its characters, and I felt like Spirit of Justice had the weakest set of characters overall. So because of that, I can't put it at A. All right, and next we've got like the redheaded stepchild, Apollo Justice, which like I feel bad for him. He's kind of feels like he's kind of the butt monkey a little bit. I don't hate Apollo Justice. I like him. Like, he can't compare to Phoenix. Phoenix is the best, but he's okay. But I'm trying to remember like the story and the cases, and it's just not as memorable. Apollo Justice is another one where I'm like, I don't really replay it like I do with the Phoenix Wright one, so I'm not as well acquainted with it. But for the inclusion of Hobo Phoenix alone in the first trial, which was one of the few things I do remember about it, I got to appreciate that. And I remember the last one being pretty good, like the last trial being pretty good, but I think we're gonna go ahead and put him right above Spirit of Justice. And also it introduced Trucy as well, Trucy Wright, who is another great character. So that's a bonus. Hobo Phoenix, Trucy Wright, and then some decent cases. All right, next up is Miles Edgeworth Ace Attorney Investigations. I have not played the remake of this. I know that this released, I think, this year on Steam. I played the OG one, and I played it like on the computer because that was back before they had an English translation for it. So I got like a pirated copy online, and this one was pretty good. But the thing about it is, one of my favorite things about the Ace Attorney series is the actual trials in the classroom, or not classroom, in the courtroom. This one is just Miles kind of going around talking to people because he's an investigator. And he's just basically at the scene and he's talking to people. So you don't get the court sections, which are some of my favorite parts. Like the investigation sections of the Phoenix Wright games are, like, to me, the weaker section. The courtroom is like what I live for. So this doesn't have that, so automatically for me that kind of makes it weaker. But I love Miles and his interactions with Gumshoe. I love their dynamics so much, so that elevates it a little bit. All right, so with that being said, let's put, okay, I'm gonna, do I like investigations more than... No, because Apollo Justice still has the courtroom sections, which I like, so I'm gonna stick it kind of... I'm gonna stick it in the middle. And the last game on the list is the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which is the most recent one, where it follows Naruhodo, I believe that's his name, which is kind of like a distant relative of Phoenix in the past. And I liked this game. I really liked the upgraded graphics, you know, considering that the Phoenix Wright games were like DS games and 3DS games, whereas this one was more modern. I like the setting of kind of like the 1900s. I think it was set in like the late 1800s, early 1900s. I love the characters that were introduced in this one, because this one is completely different. It's not like Phoenix Wright, where you've got the returning characters every time. You know, you got Maya, and Gumshoe, and Edgeworth, and Pearl, and Francisca, and just, you know, like these great characters. Like, so they had to do something a little tricky because it was all new characters, but they managed to do a good job at making the characters likable, especially Sherlock Holmes, who is fantastic. I love him so much. I feel like he is what makes this game so good. You've got like Naruhodo, who's kind of like the straight man, and then Sherlock, who's absolutely insane, and then you've got Susato, who is kind of like your Maya, and it's great. So this is technically 2 games in one. I could have broken them down into 2 separate games, but I like these 2 games are so integrated with each other that I'm counting them as one. I really enjoy it, so I'm gonna put the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, I'm gonna put that low A. All right, and that is my final, very cluttered visual novel tier list. probably not too surprised at the ones at the top. They're pretty much the same ones that were at the top in my, you know, games that I've played tier list. Higurashi, always going to be the top one. You guys can recommend in the comments if there's one that you think will beat it, but it's going to be tricky. And yeah, let's scroll down so we can kind of get a better view of where I put everything. I'm just kind of taking a look and seeing if there's anything I want to move around. But overall, I think I'm pretty happy with the placement of everything.
So that was a fucking lie.
Hey everybody, so it's the next day and I'm not done yet. Not only am I not 100% happy with where I put certain games, but I actually forgot a few. So coming back in and finishing this off once and for all. So let's start with the games that I forgot to add to the tier list. We've got Milk Inside a Bag of Milk Inside a Bag of Milk. I hate to say it's barely a game, but it's like 20 minutes long from what I remember. It's just about a girl with anxiety who has to convince herself to go to the store and get a bag of milk. It's just kind of like an insight into somebody with anxiety and mental illness, and just inside her head as she talks herself through what to do, and you can make certain choices. But it's, like I said, it's 20 minutes. There's not really much to it, so for that reason I'm gonna put it in C. The thing about it is it's literally like $2 on Steam. So, I mean, you get what you pay for in that aspect. And then next we've got the sequel, Milk Outside a Bag of Milk Outside a Bag of Milk. I think that's what it's called. So this one is longer. It's more expensive as well. It's like $9, I think. And this delves into like a girl, I think it's the same girl. And she's just in her apartment and she's just trying to get through the day. And once again, you can make choices on her thought process. You can click on things in her apartment, she'll comment on them, and you just have to try and make her as happy as you can. So this is another thing where it's very psychological. It's just going to the mind of a girl who has pretty severe mental illness, and it is pretty fascinating in that aspect. I do remember this one more than the Milk Inside a Bag of Milk Inside a Bag of Milk, because it actually feels more like a game. It was okay. I think it was just, I don't know, maybe I just didn't play it in the best headspace or for whatever reason, but I don't really remember enjoying this game a lot, so I'm going to also put this on C. I'm going to put it on high, like I'll put it above Magical Girls and below Raincoat, but yeah, they were just kind of meh games to me. Some people I think might get a lot more out of it. When I looked at the Steam reviews of this, when I was trying to remember the games, it's like overwhelmingly positive. So I think I'm in the minority on that, of just thinking it's okay. I appreciate what the author was trying to do, but maybe it just wasn't for me. Okay, next up is Your Turn to Die, which I don't know how I forgot this game, because it's not like the previous games I just talked about that are very short, that I just did like a one-off live stream on. Like I did a full playthrough of this, I believe. I looked to see if there was any more to the game that has come out, and I don't think so. I think I have played up until where the game has ended, and I looked into it too. The author is saying that they're hoping to have the game done, or like the next chapter done, by 2025, the end of 2025, which is coming soon, so I hope there will be an ending to this game. And I feel bad I forgot about it, because I really do enjoy it. It is like a death game, which I enjoy those styles of games. And I really like the characters. What I think is really cool about this game and is unique, the thing about like Danganronpa games is the characters are set to die. You can't really change their fate. With this one, there's a couple of options where you can actually choose to have certain characters die, and it changes the story in a big way. So I think that's really neat. This one does feel like your choices actually do matter, and they do change the story. So that's something alone that makes it unique from the other kind of death game knockoffs. So for that reason, I think we're going to have to put this one on A tier. So I'm going to go ahead and put it... Yeah, I'm going to put it in between Ace Attorney Chronicles and Slay the Princess. And I did mention earlier, like when I initially did my tier list, that I wasn't going to add the Danganronpa like fan games. So I'm like, you know what? Why not? I played them. I count them as visual novels, so I should add them to the tier list. And I mentioned about how the first one, Super Danganronpa Another, because of the issues with the free time events, with the certain games in the classroom trials, because of the lack of translation that really hindered sections of the game, I unfortunately, as much as I did enjoy the overall story, I feel like I have to put it in C tier. So I'm gonna put it, I'll put it just under Rain Code. Okay, and hopefully the final one, hopefully I have not forgotten anymore, is Super Danganronpa Another 2. Because I'm currently playing it, we have to put it under Did Not Finish, but I have to say this might be coming strong because I'm not that far in. I have to, of all the games that I'm currently in the process of finishing, I'm going to say we're going to put it at the top of Did Not Finish. And then I did also change some things up as well. So let's kind of pull back and we can see the whole tier list, and I'll kind of show you guys what I did change around. So a big change I made, you may notice it, there is a new introduction to the S tier. I really had to sit down and I thought about Fata Morgana. When I was talking about it during my initial rankings, I thought about it, I was like, I talked about how I said it was one of the best love stories I've ever experienced. It made me cry, it made me emotional, how beautiful it is and how unique it is. So I decided to take it out of A tier. I feel like I need to put it in S tier. It is low S tier, but it is something special. And it is one of the highest rated visual novels of all time, I believe, if not like the top. So objectively, I feel like it should be an S tier for that reason as well. Next, I did move some things around in the A tier. I realized I had the Somnium file was pretty high. Like, I had over the Danganronpa games, which I just like those games more overall. Is something unique, and I really like the style, the humor, the characters. But, like, Danganronpa is just so special to me as a series. So, for that reason, I did place not only the Danganronpa games, but also the Ace Attorney games as well, because I talked about how the Ace Attorney games are some of my favorite games, like one of my favorite game series, so I also wanted to just put those above I as well. And also the B tier, I moved some things around, but nothing too crazy on the B tier. One thing is I did move Class of 09, the Flipside, pretty far down when I was thinking about it, because I did have my issues with this. I felt like the other two Class of 09 games, there were so many choices for routes. Like, you could have them go in so many different directions, there were so many endings, whereas the flip side, there were less routes, I believe, and each of the routes were longer, but you had less options of like where you could go, and there were less endings. So it just felt like, I mean, it is kind of a spin-off, but it did feel like it was like you just got less content. And I didn't like that you felt railroaded into certain paths and you couldn't like just veer in different directions as much as you could with Class of 09. So for that reason, I did decide to move it further down on B. And I also moved Corpse Party Sweet Sachiko's Hysteric Birthday Bash. When I thought about that one too, I was like, this game just felt so pointless to me. So maybe it's a little harsh, but I moved it down to D because I just see like Corpse Party and the Psycho Pass game, I just see them as were just unnecessary. And I just thought about it and I was like, I could have spent my time reading so many other better visual novels with the time that I spent on these. And these were not short games either. So there's nothing really technically wrong with them, but just because they feel like wasted time to me, that's why I put them in D tier. That could be harsh, that's just my opinion. So I think I think I'm good now. Let's just pull it back so you guys can get a view. So that is it. After much time put into it, I feel good about this. I think this is my final visual novel tier list, at least for now, until I probably do an updated version later on. So let me know. What do you guys think of this tier list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Where would you put certain games on your own tier list? I'd love to hear your opinions down in the comments below. Also, if you do have recommendations for other future visual novels that you'd like to see me play, you can feel free to add those as well. I still need to find one that's going to top Higurashi. I don't think there's one out there, but if you have recommendations for one that you think is even better, please let me know. But I want to thank you all so much for watching through to the end. I know this was a very long video. Thank you very much for allowing me to reach 25,000 subscribers, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So take care, everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye. Shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Revealing Storm, Lynn's VA, Kenju Storm, iCognito, Kevlar, Sean, Waz RD1, and iZuzu.